Imagine this. You're working a double shift, your feet ache, your smile is wearing thin, and the last thing you expect is for your life to change forever in the blink of an eye. But what if I told you that the most ordinary moments can twist into something extraordinary? What if the man sitting at table 7, the one who barely looked up from his coffee, was hiding a secret that would flip your world upside down? That's exactly what happened to Emily, a small-town waitress who served a billionaire without even knowing it. And by the time she found out who he really was, it wasn't just a job offer on the table. It was his heart. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does something like this even happen? Is this just another fairy tale, or could it actually be real? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll get the answers you came for. You'll see how fate works in the most unexpected ways, how one chance encounter can rewrite destiny, and why sometimes, the richest people aren't the ones flashing their wealth. They're the ones who see something priceless in you. But here's the real question. What would you do if you were in Emily's shoes? Would you take the leap, or would fear hold you back? Let's rewind to the beginning, to that tiny diner on the edge of town where the coffee was strong but the tips were weak. Emily wasn't dreaming of mansions or private jets. She was just trying to make rent. But when a mysterious stranger walked in, something felt different. He wasn't like the other customers. He watched her, not with entitlement, but with curiosity. And when he left, he didn't just leave a tip. He left a note. A note that would unravel everything she thought she knew about luck, love, and second chances. But here's where things get really interesting. Because this billionaire? He wasn't looking for a waitress. He was looking for someone far more important, and he was willing to risk it all to find her. The question is, why her? What did he see that no one else did? And what happens when power, money, and destiny collide in the most unpredictable way possible? I won't spoil it for you yet, but I will say this. The moment Emily walked into his world, nothing was ever the same again. And if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or stuck in a life that doesn't feel like yours, then this story is for you. Because sometimes, the universe has a way of placing the right person in front of you at exactly the right time, even if you don't realize it until it's too late to walk away. So tell me, are you ready to find out what happens next? Because trust me, you won't see the ending coming. And when you do, you'll never look at a diner, or a billionaire, the same way again. Don't go anywhere. The best part is just ahead. Emily had always believed that life was something that happened to other people, the kind of people who got lucky breaks, who had connections, who were born with a silver spoon. She wasn't bitter about it. She just accepted it as fact. The diner where she worked, Joe's Corner Cafe, was a relic of a simpler time, with cracked vinyl booths and a jukebox that only played half the songs it promised. The regulars were truckers, construction workers, and the occasional lost tourist who'd taken a wrong turn off the highway. Tips were scarce, but Emily had a way of making even the gruffest customers soften. Something about her laugh, or maybe the way she remembered everyone's order without writing it down. That's why when he walked in, she didn't think twice. Just another suit passing through. Probably some corporate guy avoiding the interstate traffic. But there was something off about him. Not in a dangerous way. More like a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. He sat in her section, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp, scanning the room like he was memorizing it. He didn't look at his phone, didn't rush her, didn't even seem to notice the chipped mug she set in front of him. Instead, he watched her. Not in the way some men did, with that uncomfortable intensity, but like he was trying to figure out a math problem only she held the answer to. When she came back to refill his coffee, he asked her name. Not in the casual, polite way customers sometimes did, but like it actually mattered. Emily, she said, and for the first time in years, she felt seen. What she didn't know was that the man, Alexander Carter wasn't just some businessman. He was the CEO of Carter Global, a tech empire worth billions. A man who could buy entire cities if he wanted to. But he wasn't here for a power move. He was here because of a bet. A stupid, reckless wager made in the back of a limo after one too many drinks with his old college rival. Could he find someone truly genuine in a world full of people who'd sell their souls for a piece of his fortune? Not someone from his circles, not someone who'd recognize him, but a stranger who had no idea who he was. And if he did? His rival had to hand over a rare vintage car Alexander had been eyeing for years. If he failed? Well, let's just say the stakes were high enough to make even a billionaire sweat. So when Alexander left that note, "You're wasted in this place. Call me if you ever want more." It wasn't just kindness. It was part of the game. What he hadn't counted on was Emily tossing it straight into the trash the second he walked out the door. She'd heard lines like that before from guys who thought they were slick, and she wasn't about to fall for it. But fate had other plans. Because the next day, a storm rolled in, flooding the streets and trapping Alexander's driver outside the diner just as Emily's shift ended. When he recognized her and offered her a ride home, she hesitated. Something in his voice, the lack of expectation, the quiet sincerity, made her say yes. That car ride changed everything. Not because of some grand confession, but because of what didn't happen. He didn't flirt. Didn't name drop. Didn't even mention the note. Instead, he asked her about her dreams, her favorite books, the story behind the tiny sunflower tattoo on her wrist. And for the first time in a long time, Emily found herself talking. Really talking, to someone who listened. By the time they reached her apartment, she almost regretted that the ride was over. Almost. Because when she stepped out, Alexander finally broke his own rule. "I wasn't entirely honest with you," he said, his voice low. "I'm not who you think I am." And that's when the real mystery began. Because the next morning, a black sedan pulled up outside the diner. Not for Alexander, but for her. A driver stepped out, holding an envelope with her name on it. Inside, a single key and an address. No explanation. No demands. Just an invitation to a place that looked like it belonged in a movie. But here's the thing. Alexander wasn't there. Instead, she was greeted by a woman in a sleek suit who smiled like she'd been expecting her. "Mr. Carter has a proposition for you," she said. "But before we discuss it, there's something you should know." And that's where we'll leave it for now. Because this isn't just a story about a billionaire and a waitress. It's about secrets, about choices, about the fine line between opportunity and manipulation. Did Alexander seek her out for the bet? Or was there something deeper at play? What's inside that envelope? A job offer, a trap, or something else entirely? And most importantly, what would you do if you were standing in Emily's shoes right now? Don't go anywhere. The truth is coming, and trust me, you won't see it coming. Emily's fingers trembled as she gripped the key, its cold metal biting into her palm. The address led her to a towering glass skyscraper in the heart of the city. A place so far removed from the cracked linoleum of Joe's Corner Cafe that it felt like stepping into another universe. The woman in the sleek suit, Ms. Laurent as she introduced herself, guided her through hushed marble halls where every footstep echoed like a secret being whispered. Emily's mind raced. Was this a prank? Some twisted reality show? Or had Alexander Carter, a man she'd known for barely an hour, truly plucked her from her life and dropped her into his? Ms. Laurent stopped before a set of double doors, her smile unreadable. "Mr. Carter believes you have potential," she said, emphasizing the word like it was a loaded gun. "But potential is worthless without testing." Before Emily could ask what that meant, the doors swung open, revealing a room that looked like a high-tech war room. Screens flashing with data, a team of sharply dressed people murmuring into headsets, and at the center of it all, a single empty chair facing a massive monitor. The screen flickered to life, and Alexander's face appeared, his expression uncharacteristically tense. "Emily," he said, his voice crisp through the speakers. "I owe you an explanation. But first, I need you to make a choice." The twist. This wasn't just about a job, or even the bet. Alexander's rival, a tech mogul named Damien Crowe, had caught wind of their little game and decided to raise the stakes. He'd uncovered something about Emily, something she didn't even know. A connection to a defunct startup her late father had worked for, one that had developed a revolutionary AI algorithm before mysteriously collapsing. Damien believed the code still existed, hidden somewhere only her father's heirs could access. And now, he'd given Alexander an ultimatum. Hand her over, or watch as he dismantles Carter Global piece by piece. The screen split, revealing security footage of Damien's men parked outside Emily's apartment, her roommate oblivious as she carried groceries inside. Emily's blood ran cold. This wasn't a game anymore. It was a trap, and she'd walked right into it. Alexander leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "I didn't bring you here to exploit you," he said. "But I can't protect you if you walk out that door. Damien thinks you're the key to his empire. I think you're the key to stopping him." The room erupted into arguments, some of Alexander's team urging him to cut his losses, others insisting Emily was their only leverage. And then the real bombshell dropped. Ms. Laurent slid a file across the table. Inside were photos of Emily's father, dated 2 weeks ago. "He's alive, Emily," Alexander said quietly. "And Damien has him." The room spun. Her father, the man she'd buried 10 years ago after a supposed car crash, was alive? None of this made sense. But the evidence was undeniable. A hospital bracelet, a blurred surveillance image, a handwritten note in her father's unmistakable scrawl. Asterisk. "Tell Em I'm sorry. It was the only way." Asterisk. Alexander stood, his voice cutting through the chaos. "You want the truth? Your father faked his death to protect you. The algorithm he built could control every financial market on the planet. Damien wants it. I want to destroy it. And you." He met her eyes. "You're the only one who can decide what happens next." But before Emily could respond, alarms blared. The monitors flashed red. Damien's men were storming the building. Ms. Laurent shoved a burner phone into Emily's hand. "There's a car waiting underground. Go now." As she was rushed toward the elevator, Alexander's final words followed her. "Whatever you do, don't trust anyone. Not even me." The elevator doors closed, leaving Emily with nothing but the key, the phone, and a single text from an unknown number. Asterisk, "They lied to you. Meet me at the place where your father took you for ice cream. You remember, don't you?" Asterisk. And just like that, the game changed. Because that ice cream parlor? It had burned down the night her father died. Or disappeared. Or whatever the hell had really happened. Now Emily had to decide. Run toward the truth, or run for her life. But one thing was certain. Whoever sent that text knew things no one should know. And that made them either her best hope, or her deadliest enemy. Don't go anywhere. The final piece of this puzzle is coming, and it will rewrite everything you think you know. Emily's heart pounded as she stood in the rain outside the charred remains of the ice cream parlor, the place where her father had once laughed with her over mint chocolate chip cones. The text had led her here, but the ruins offered no answers, only ghosts. The burner phone buzzed again, this time with a grainy video. Her breath caught as her father's face filled the screen, older now, his eyes shadowed with fear. Asterisk, if you're seeing this, it means you're close. The algorithm was never about money. It was about control. And I hid it where no one would think to look. In your lullaby. Asterisk. The video cut to static, leaving her reeling. Her lullaby, the one he'd sung to her every night, the one she'd forgotten until this moment. A hand grabbed her shoulder. She whirled around to face Alexander, his usually composed demeanor shattered. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed, scanning the empty street. "Damien's watching. He knows." But before she could demand answers, headlights sliced through the darkness. A van screeched to a halt, and armed men poured out. Alexander shoved her behind a crumbling wall, his voice frantic. "The lullaby, sing it. Now." Confusion and terror tangled in her throat, but she forced out the melody, the childish tune feeling absurd in the chaos. Then, something unbelievable happened. The van's headlights flickered in sync with the notes. A hidden frequency. The algorithm wasn't code, it was a sound wave, embedded in the one thing no one would ever suspect. A father's lullaby to his daughter. Gunfire erupted. Alexander pushed her toward a motorcycle idling in the alley. "Go," he shouted. The frequency. It's the only way to stop Damien's system. But as she revved the engine, Damien himself stepped into view, his smirk venomous. "Clever girl. But did you really think I'd let you walk away?" He raised a gun. Not at her but at Alexander. Time slowed. A shot rang out. Alexander crumpled. Emily screamed, but then, a miracle. The armed men turned their weapons on Damien. Ms. Laurent stepped forward, her earpiece crackling. "Carter Global Security, stand down." The twist. Alexander had been playing everyone. The bet, the chase, even his own death. All staged to lure Damien into the open. The algorithm was worthless without Emily's voice, and Alexander had used himself as bait to protect her. As paramedics loaded him into an ambulance, he gripped her hand. "I promised you the truth," he rasped. "Your father's alive. He's been in hiding, waiting for it to be safe. And now it is." Behind him, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows, her father, tears streaming down his face. 1 year later, the headlines told the story. Asterisk. Damien Crowe, arrested. Carter Global, reformed into a non-profit fighting corporate espionage. And Emily Carter, yes, Carter, now head of a foundation reuniting families torn apart by hidden wars. Asterisk the lullaby? Patented as unbreakable encryption, its profits funding shelters for people like her. People who'd been pawns in games they never knew existed. But here's the final twist. The one thing the headlines got wrong. Alexander didn't marry Emily for love at first sight, or gratitude, or even the algorithm. He married her because when she sang that lullaby in the ruins, he'd heard something no billionaire could buy. The sound of someone who'd lost everything but still dared to hope. And that was the real treasure. So what's the lesson? Maybe it's that the richest people aren't the ones with the most zeros in their accounts. They're the ones who recognize value where others see none. And sometimes if you're lucky, life doesn't just happen to you, you happen to it. If this story gripped you, imagine what else is out there, waiting to unfold. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Because the next tale? It might just change your life. Until then, keep looking closer. The extraordinary is hiding in your ordinary.